Today, we are going to be painting the rock troll, which Corvus Belli graciously sent me, and I am very excited to be painting in this video. So we're going to jump into it. One thing I want you to know, a bunch of people have told me on my Instagram and stuff, they want me to paint or make painting videos, and people in my community. So I am very new to filming painting videos. So this video is as much of me showing you the rock troll as it is me learning how to do lighting and stuff. So you'll see, and filming painting. So you'll see some different angles that I try out and I'll talk about in the video. But you'll also see that there are some scenes, especially with the spray paint, that is like really washed out. I apologize for that in advance. Please be gracious to me. If you have any advice on to how to better fix that in post, just let me know. All right, but I'm trying it out. I want these videos to be good for all of you. And so let's jump into it. Let's paint a rock troll. So the first thing I do is hit it with a black primer. I like to mix my black primers with ink, a black ink. I've just found that when I have black ink, black primer, and then the airbrush thinner, it tends to just work really better, much better, because the black ink has a lot of pigment, and then you get all the same properties from the primer as well. So the first and only color I'm going to airbrush the model is Vallejo Charcoal, or any charcoal dark gray. I functionally treat the rock troll as a piece of terrain. So this is not, this video will use my kind of classical painting style, but I'm using more of a terrain painting style. So here you can see, of course, one of my big painting styles is dry brushing. I love dry brushing a lot. And so I'm just hitting the rock troll with two other grays after that charcoal base layer. You can see them up in the top right. One of them is Vallejo Neutral Gray. It's my mid-tone gray. So I hit the entirety of the model with that to build up the highlights and bring back the shadows. And then the final one is Wolf Gray, which is my lightest gray, and I hit that on all the edges so you can see how bright it is now. The next step to this, because functionally the rock part of the rock troll is done, is I use bold titanium white from Pro Acryl. It's kind of my go-to paint for how I paint all my minis. And I just go through and I dry brush all of the non-rock pieces, as well as where I hope to have glow effects show up. So I start picking out, now that I've dry brushed everything, I start going through with speed paints. And so this is how I actually paint most of my models. So if these videos work out well, I will show you more of them where I paint normal models. But I just go through and I have various different little recipes that I use with my speed paints, or my, if you see those white capped paints, those are actually Citadel paints that I have transferred into shaker bottles. And I just go through with different thinned amounts, and I paint over the different parts of the dry brushed models that I have. So like the bone and the rope. There's actually a bird nest in the back of the rock troll. There's a lizard or some sort of reptile. And I just go over, and because I hit it with charcoal and then I built up all those gray tones, starting from a dark gray to a very, very, very light gray to the white, I now, as you can see, have built up shadows and highlights before even adding color. And so once I added all that color, this stage seems like the crazy step, but I destroy it all by adding another white dry brush on top of all of that color. And so even though this seems like you're destroying the model, what I've found is that it actually helps, because now you have all those color tones in there, and you're going to push back the shadows and pull out the highlights and the light edges of the color. And so the dry brushing actually does a lot of the work for you. So then all I do is I go back in, and sometimes I use the same consistency of speed paint, contrast paint that I used before. Other times I'll thin it a lot more. But I'll go in now and I'll paint exactly the same parts. And that's why you see me kind of skipping through just in editing wise, because we've already seen me kind of paint all of these things. So another thing that I do want to note is I do occasionally hit parts of the model with another dry brush. And so I think I lost the footage for the bones, but all of the bones that I do for the northern tribes, I hit with the speed paint recipe that I have here. So I use Vallejo Pallid Bone, or no, Army Painter Pallid Bone, and I hit it. But then after I do that second coat, I also dry brush over the bone just to bring some more kind of bone color and kind of a nice, more vivid color to the bone, especially because the northern tribes have a lot of bone sculpts on them, whether it's skulls or bone armor, or the wargs themselves, which have the heads that are just bone. So there's a lot of different utility you can do that I'm kind of hoping to provide and give to my models. And so now that I've kind of gone through all the steps of dry brushing and speed painting, I wanted to try out and hit up the Rocktroll itself by doing some of the things you may have seen in my ruins painting video, where I put some speed paints through the airbrush and I hit different parts of the rock just to give some different tonage. If you're familiar with like the leopard spotting method of painting rock, that's kind of what this is. So I just hit it with a brown and then a few like blue grays, but the airbrush booth is so bright that it washed out a lot of what you would be able to see. And so now that functionally the Rocktroll is done, but I need to get the glowing part, the OSL part. So I've learned doing how to do this from painting my scions. You can check those out on my Instagram. And I'm hoping to do a video on painting a few of them coming up. But now that the model's done, I just hit it with that bold titanium white again, or a very white paint. I dry brush around all of the spots that I want to have glowing. I even go in with the airbrush a bit and I hit like the swirling face and like the big crevice in the back with white. And then I do the glowing effect. And all the glowing effect is just a speed paint. Once again, another speed paint that I push through the airbrush and I hit on all of those different spots that I previously prepared to be brightened. And so the speed paint I'm using here is Shamrock Green. It's just a very kind of bright green when put on white. Bold titanium white is a very bright white. So when you combine those two with the dry brushing we've already done, you get this really kind of nice glowing effect. And I'm still learning how to do the glowing effect. This is something that I've just recently started doing over the summer with the release of the Song of the Dormant box, the Feudum and the Scions. But I really liked how it looked on the Rocktroll. And a lot of people, said they were interested in how I did it. So this is one of those videos where I show you. I was gonna go back and paint the little statue again, but I talked to some other people, asked for their advice, and they said, keep it this way. So I did. And so this is the base. I can do a separate video for how I do the bases. But long story short, I hit it with a black primer, and then I do two different blues, a very dark blue, and then like a teal blue. And they are various paints, but I think I use Vallejo Deep Sea Blue and then Army Painter Wizard Orb or something. And then I put UV resin on it, which is a very viscous resin. It's different from the 3D printing resin. And then I let it cure. And so now that it's cured, I was thinking maybe I could go in and put some little rocks and rubble on the base, because I'm going to be making some terrain pieces for the Rocktroll as well, because that's in the Rocktroll's card, and I will be making a video for that. But I ended up not wanting to overcomplicate it, because sometimes you can overbase a model and it can look a bit too crowded and gaudy. So I just left it simple because the Rocktroll is big enough, and I didn't want to add more cluster to the bottom, and I was on a time crunch. So now I'm scoring the ice. This is effectively like a frozen lake. So I'm scoring the ice with my X-Acto knife. You want to be careful and not cut yourself. And so you get some nice deep cuts with the X-Acto knife, and then to go over the rest of it, I just use 60 grit sandpaper to kind of make it look like it's been worn and stuff has been moving across the ice. And then you just adhere the Rocktrol with your good old-fashioned super glue. And try not to get your fingers all sticky, because it happens all the time to me. The Rocktrol was interesting too because it's a massive model. Like you'll see in all of these shots, once it's on the base, like that front right fist is just not on the base really at all. So, but it's a heavy enough model, and the snow effect that I will show you how I will actually work as another adhesive, which you'll see in a few moments. So now we have the Rocktrol. He's all done. He's all glued on. We just need to do the snow. And so the snow effect does two things. One, the obvious thing, it acts as a thematic basing element. So my northern tribes, I kind of have them looking like they're on a frozen lake, charging across like a frozen glacier or lake or something. But two, a lot of the northern tribes are standing on tactical rocks and stuff, and when you do the UV resin, sometimes it'll cure with little bumps, not little bumps, but like it can cure wavy. And so when you glue the model down, there might be gaps between like where the foot touches the base, and it looks a little off. And so the snow not only looks nice as snow, but you can also use it to seal those gaps, cover up those gaps, and it also helps secure parts of the model to the base. So it's just another adhesive. And I use quite a few different adhesives. And so here you can see I was not happy with that top-down camera view. Something about my camera was just having a hard time like getting high quality from it, and in post, you know, I was going to have to zoom in and I was losing quality. So I changed it to a little bit of an over-the-shoulder type view. Let me know what you think, because I kind of like this a little bit more. It allows you to see a bit more of what I'm working with. And yes, I know throughout the entirety of this video I'm holding the model. Typically I don't do that, but this model is so heavy and so big that I really don't have a choice, at least for what I'm doing. So the model is done. Now all I do is I add the base rim, and you can use any black paint. I like to use just classic cheap craft store black paints. One, because it's cheap and I use a ton of it, and two, it's an homage to when I started my very first model for wargaming, and when I painted my original Lord of the Rings models, they were all with that cheap craft store paint. But here's the Rocktrol. He's all done in all his glory. The model is varnished, and I then went back over and glossed the lake bits so it's shiny and glossy again. If you want to see better pictures of the Rocktrol, feel free to check out my Instagram, where I have some much better photographs of the Rocktrol itself. But like I mentioned before, the Rocktrol needs a base, so stay tuned for the terrain video where I make the terrain element for the Rocktrol. And I will see you all in the next video.